One of the biggest complaints, and honestly, I think one of the most deserved criticisms of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, was Everett Ross and Valentina's roles in the film. They just kind of felt forced and almost unnecessary, like they were trying really hard to set up the Thunderbolt. As it turns out, that's not the case. So this comes at us directly from Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther 1 and 2, who sat down and talked with the New York Times, and they specifically brought up the idea of Valentina showing up in the film almost out of nowhere if you watch the film. How it felt forced and how that's one of the big criticisms, and whether this was a Marvel Studios forced decision to add her in there in the last minute because Thunderbolts is happening. And he revealed that that's not the case at all. Instead, he reveals that the conversation happened very early on when they were still developing the original Black Panther with Chadwick. And he said that she was there from the very start. They just didn't know, obviously, the plan of how to use her since they were still working on the script. And they specifically knew that she was going to be appearing in Black Widow, but the original Black Panther 2 with Valentina was meant to already be happening before Black Widow came out. But then due to delays and everything, obviously ended up falling behind. So in an interesting way, they kind of sat on the whole Valentina thing for quite a while. And again, it kind of makes sense that Marvel Studios is going to want her in there and that she was planned early on. But a part of it still seems like she's very much forced in there, and like she's just there to, remind people of, hey, there's this evil version of Nick Fury, and it does come off like that in the film. Whether that's intentional or not, again, that's up to you to decide, but I just didn't really like it. It didn't work for me. All those scenes kind of felt useless. Even the Ross scenes kind of felt useless in the film. Like, they were a distraction to a pretty large degree, and almost felt like they only exist here because, hey, he's got a contract and she's got a contract and she's going to be important in a couple years. So put her in this as well. And again, if you remove their scenes, I feel like you're not really missing anything. And I think that's the thing here that people want to talk about, why the New York Times just straight up asks him about it. It's like, it doesn't fit in there. How does that kind of work? But Coogler did say that if you look at what they're doing, it makes sense, especially if you look at the US and Telecon and how she is a director and working for the CIA. It makes sense that she's going to be involved. So at least there's kind of that, I guess, thread of logic. But still, it's not really my favorite thing. It's just one of those things where I think of it and I go, yeah, until you remind me that they're in the film and that Valentina is important in the film, I forget, because everything else about the film is, well, honestly better than that part.